Arrogant classmates invited the outcast of their class to the reunion after 5 years, only to ridicule him. Marcus Green, the quiet student they used to call strange, walked in wearing worn-out sneakers and a faded hoodie. The room burst into laughter. Brooks smirked. Chase boasted about his so-called startups, and Tyler went as far as mocking him on stage. Everyone thought it was all part of the fun. But when Marcus calmly stepped forward, unbothered by their mockery, silence swept through the hall. The same man they had dismissed revealed something that wiped the arrogance off every face, leaving his former classmates speechless and ashamed. Before we continue, if you're new to our channel, please take a moment to subscribe. Your support helps us share more meaningful stories like this one. Stay with us until the end, and if this story inspires you, don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments and send it to a friend. Now, let's begin. The invitation arrived in a plain white envelope buried beneath a stack of unopened mail at Marcus Green's modest apartment. The handwriting on the front was familiar, though forced, as if someone had tried too hard to make it appear graceful. Class of 2018 reunion. You're invited. Marcus stared at it for a long time, his thumb grazing the folded edge. The venue's name gleamed in bold, Rutherford Academy Banquet Hall, the same private school that once made him feel like he never belonged. He remembered those hallways, the long rows of brightly painted lockers, the echo of sneakers hitting polished floors, and himself quiet and withdrawn, clutching his books as if they were armor. He had been the only black student in a crowd of identical white uniforms. Marcus was gifted. His teachers said so, and his grades proved it. But even talent couldn't silence the whispers. He's strange. He won't last a year in the real world. Too shy. He'll never make it. The words no longer hurt, not the way they once did, but the memories still carried weight. Marcus set the envelope down on the chipped table beside him. He could have ignored it, let it disappear with the rest of the unopened mail. A faint smile crossed his face because he knew something they didn't. 5 years. That's all it had been. 5 years since he'd walked out of that school for the last time. 5 years filled with long nights before a glowing laptop, countless rejected ideas, and endless coding sessions that stretched until dawn. He recalled those corridors, the endless lines of brightly colored lockers, the sound of sneakers echoing off the polished floors, and himself quiet and reserved, shoulders slouched, gripping his books like protection. He had been the only black student among a crowd of identical white uniforms. Marcus was intelligent. His teachers often said so, and his grades proved it. But even excellence couldn't silence the murmurs. Strange kid. He won't last a year in the real world. Too shy. He'll never succeed. Those words no longer hurt, not like before, but the memories still lingered. Marcus set the envelope down on the worn table beside him. He could have ignored it, let it fade with the rest of the unopened mail. A faint smile crossed his face because he knew something they didn't. 5 years. That's all it had been. 5 years since he had left that school without a backward glance. 5 years of long nights in front of a glowing laptop, of failed attempts, endless revisions, and sleepless coding sessions that shaped his future. 5 years of being underestimated, until the day the world finally took notice. Marcus Green was no longer the quiet boy they once ridiculed. He was now the CEO of a growing tech company worth more than his former classmates could ever imagine. Yet no one knew. He preferred to keep his success away from attention and noise. He looked at the slightly tilted mirror on his wall. His reflection appeared calm but weary. The hoodie was stretched at the sleeves and his sneakers were worn out. Nothing about him hinted at wealth or success, and for the first time he realized he liked it that way. If they had invited him to mock him, then so be it. Let them gather with their forced smiles and shallow pride, thinking they were about to belittle him once again. Marcus slipped the invitation into his jacket pocket, taking a deep, steady breath. This wasn't just a reunion, it was a moment for something far greater. Raindrops still dotted his hoodie as Marcus stepped into the Rutherford Banquet Hall. Cold air, the scent of lemon polish and the faint hum of a projector filled the room. Everything looked neat, controlled, and meant to impress. Gold balloons framed a folding table crowded with name tags. Marcus found his written in smooth looping ink, pinned it to his worn cotton hoodie, and felt the small tug as the pin caught on a loose thread. Heads turned, not dramatically, but in quiet waves from the bar to the photo booth. A short pause, then the chatter resumed, thinner this time, laced with faint smirks. Marcus adjusted his cuff, brushed his thumb over the folded envelope in his pocket, and stepped further inside. "Yo, that's him, right?" A voice murmured behind a pillar. "Yeah," another replied, half amused. "Same hoodie look. Told you he never changed." A soft laugh followed. "I heard he's stacking shelves somewhere." "Please. My cousin says he's back at his aunt's place." "Wow, 5 years and still nothing." Marcus kept walking. The carpet softened his steps. On stage, a slideshow cycled through high school memories. Lacrosse jerseys, prom crowns, and a science fair ribbon he'd once refused to pose with. The MC, Tyler Voss, stood stiffly at the mic, his cufflinks gleaming. Voice too loud as he joked, "Reunited and richer, well, most of us." Laughter followed. Marcus chose a seat near the back, half in shadow but with a clear view of the room. He set down his glass of water and watched quietly, the way a coder studies lines of code, waiting for a signal. Whitman passed by holding a champagne flute, diamond earrings glinting under the LED lights. "Marcus." Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "What's up, stranger?" "You look vintage." She didn't wait for a reply. At the bar, a payment terminal beeped with that familiar tone of rejection. Chase cleared his throat, pulled his card back, and tried another. The bartender quietly turned the screen away, professional enough not to mention the decline. Nearby, 2 guests filled the silence. "Did you hear?" Chase's app crashed again. "Yeah," the other said. "Investors hate public failures." Tyler tapped the mic. All right. Quick game, then and now." A slideshow started, old yearbook photos fading into present-day shots. Lawyers beside their high school portraits, a Pilates studio launch, and so on. When Marcus's name appeared, the screen showed only a gray box labeled "Photo Not Provided." A few laughs broke out. "Guess some stories never upload," Tyler said with mock sympathy. More laughter followed. Marcus took a sip of water, setting his glass down carefully. A small ring formed on the table. He wiped it away slowly with his sleeve. The low hum of bass vibrated through his chest, while the chatter seemed to brush against his skin. 2 women passed behind him, unaware of how clearly their whispers carried. "Who invited him?" one asked. "Tyler," the other replied. "Said it'd be funny." Full circle moment. "Relax, it's just a joke." Brooke returned, joined by Chase, Haley, and Roman. "So, Marcus," she said, tilting her chin, "what's the hustle these days?" "Still into computers." He nodded once. "Something like that." "Nice," Chase added, his tone slightly forced. "We're all building stuff too, startups, exits coming soon. Just a matter of timing." He tugged at his blazer sleeve, concealing the frayed seam at his cuff. "Market's strange. Rent's even stranger," Roman muttered, earning a sharp glare that silenced him. Across the room, a small photo printer spat out glossy squares while a banner above the stage read, "Class of 2018, presented by Summit Gatherings and Clean Sandiff." Marcus's eyes lingered there for a moment before moving on. No one followed his gaze, no one ever did. The awards began, simple paper certificates with gold borders. Best glow up, most international, biggest boss energy. The jokes grew riskier, wobbling toward insult. Tyler's grin tightened whenever the laughter came too slow. At the end, he held up a final envelope, smiling like a performer. "Honorable mention, most likely to still be different." He paused. "Marcus, you're here, right?" Heads turned. A quiet cough broke the silence, the thin kind that cuts. Marcus didn't rush to fill it. He simply let the silence rest, his heartbeat calm and steady. Then, with a soft scrape, he pushed back his chair, stood and gave a small nod, somewhere between thanks and polite refusal. He sat again and the microphone drifted on, leaving awkward jokes behind it. Around him, the whispers started again. "Why'd he even show up?" someone muttered. "Content," another joked. "Every story needs a villain." "Nah," someone else said more quietly. "He's calm." "That's something," the projector hummed. The air vents whispered. Glasses clinked as people pretended to toast their own achievements. Marcus folded the edge of his napkin into a sharp right angle, then another, patiently shaping a small white square, waiting as the room revealed itself. The night dragged on, filled with shallow cheer. Music pulsed from rented speakers, but it couldn't cover the cracks. Voices pitched too high when bragging, laughter a little too forced when fading. Marcus remained still, centered like the calm in a storm. A waiter passed by with shrimp skewers. Brooke grabbed one without looking, tossing the tail into a half-empty glass. Chase was mid-rant about seed funding in Q4 when his phone buzzed. He snatched it up, eyes flickering before dimming. "Just an investor follow-up," he muttered, sliding the screen face down. It had read "Final Notice." The whispers continued around Marcus like faint smoke. Did he Uber here? Nah, probably walked. "Yo, check out those shoes, they're ancient." Each laugh brushed his back like cold air. Marcus calmly finished his water and placed the glass down with care. His hoodie sleeve absorbed the ring of condensation as he wiped it again in a slow, quiet circle. Then he looked up and met Tyler's gaze across the room. Tyler, still holding the mic, still performing under the spotlight. All right, Tyler began, voice charged with practiced enthusiasm. "Time for a shout-out to our sponsor tonight. Because none of this," he gestured toward the balloons, "the buffet, the tired DJ, would be possible without their support." Marcus straightened his shoulders. One deep breath in, one out. Tyler shuffled his cue cards. "So let's give it up for Summit Gatherings." Wait, his words stumbled. The final card was blank. He frowned, then forced a smile. "Well, they've chosen to stay anonymous. But hey, let's give them a round of applause anyway." Polite clapping followed. A few whistles, then Marcus stood. The scrape of his chair against the tile echoed louder than the music. Heads turned as he walked, steady, calm toward the stage. The chatter in the hall faded, replaced by a quiet tension of curiosity. Tyler's confident smile faltered as Marcus stepped onto the stage. He didn't reach for the microphone right away. Instead, he adjusted his sleeve and let the silence expand until even the faint sound of clinking glasses stopped. Then, in a calm, even voice, Marcus began, "I want to thank you all for coming." His gaze swept across the room, not sharp or angry, just steady, like a camera lens quietly capturing everything. "And I also want to thank Summit Gatherings," he continued, "which in truth is just me." A flicker of confusion passed through the crowd. Someone gave a short, uncertain laugh. From near the bar came a whisper. "Wait, what?" Marcus took out his phone, tapped once, and the projector behind him went dark. The slideshow disappeared, replaced by flashing headlines and news articles. Green Technologies raises $40 million in Series B funding. The new face of AI infrastructure. Then, a Forbes magazine cover appeared. Marcus, 5 years older, sharper, in a tailored suit. Unmistakably him. Gasps spread across the room. "That's him," someone whispered. "No way." "Must be edited," another stammered. But the headlines kept appearing, fact after fact, until doubt had nowhere to hide. Marcus looked out over the faces that had once mocked him in those same school hallways. His tone softened slightly, almost conversational. "So when you ask what I'm doing these days, something like this." He slid his phone back into his pocket. The screen behind him froze on one line. Estimated net worth $18 million. The silence that followed felt heavy, not cruel, not awkward, just real. The kind that made people's throats tighten and palms sweat. Marcus let it linger, then allowed himself a small, knowing smile, the kind that says the joke's over and you missed it. For a moment, no one moved. The projector light seemed to trap the room in stillness. Faces half-lit, glasses suspended midair. The laughter from earlier now felt distant, like an echo of something best forgotten. Tyler, still gripping the microphone, swallowed hard. His polished grin cracked, replaced by something uncertain and brittle. "Well, his voice trembled, the sound of someone losing balance on thin ice. Across the room, Chase shifted uneasily, tugging at his blazer. Brooke's champagne glass trembled slightly, bubbles hissing too loudly in the quiet. Whispers spread quickly through the tables. "Is that real? Check your phone, man. Google it." "I told you he was always different." A few people near the bar pulled out their phones, screens lighting up their faces with a blue glow that revealed pure disbelief. Confirmation spread quickly. Every headline matched. The Forbes cover, the TechCrunch features, the investor announcements. Marcus Green wasn't just successful, he was beyond reach. Then came the silence of realization. You could see it wash over them. the quiet crumble of arrogance. The same people who once mocked him now avoided eye contact. The ones who called him weird had nothing left to say. Marcus stood calmly at the center of it all. He didn't raise his voice or demand attention. The silence worked for him now. At the edge of the room, two classmates whispered, forgetting how sound carries. "Why did we laugh?" one asked quietly. "Because we thought he'd never be anything," the other answered, voice cracking. "And now he's everything we said he couldn't be." Tyler slowly lowered the microphone. The once confident host seemed smaller now, almost hidden behind the podium. Marcus didn't even glance his way. He simply let the truth settle in. Slow, undeniable, impossible to ignore. The boy they once ridiculed wasn't the joke anymore. He was the standard. Marcus stepped closer to the edge of the stage, his shadow stretching across the floor. His voice remained steady, calm, and measured. "What you called strange was vision. What you called failure was patience. And what you laughed at became the reason you're standing in a hall I paid for." Several faces shifted uncomfortably. Shame sat heavier than the designer suits they wore. Brooke lowered her glass. Chase stared at the floor, lips parted but silent. Tyler looked down at his cue cards as if they could somehow change what had just happened. Marcus let the quiet linger before giving a slight nod. "The difference between us isn't luck. It's what we chose to believe about ourselves and about each other." He stepped down from the stage, walking past the stunned crowd toward the exit. No one stopped him. No one dared. The laughter that once followed him now existed only in memory. Mockery turned into reflection. Marcus walked out into the cool night air, his head held high. The label of loser was gone for good. He hadn't just succeeded. He had reclaimed the very stage they once used to belittle him. So, if you were in his place, mocked, underestimated, and doubted, would you reveal your success or walk away in silence? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that turn arrogance on its head.